Nothing melts in a grilled cheese sandwich or on a burger as well as American cheese. Today I'm going to show you how I make my own. My name's Greg, this is the Gourmet Woodsman. Let's get into it. American cheese basically is just an emulsification. The emulsifier is sodium citrate. It's a type of salt. I'm going to make my own today using these two ingredients, citric acid and baking soda. You can buy it online. So to start, let me show you how I make the sodium citrate. First thing I'm going to do is dissolve 74 grams of citric acid into 125 grams of water. Measurements need to be pretty accurate for the chemical reaction to work correctly when we add the base. Once the citric acid has dissolved, I'm going to add 97 grams of baking soda. Oh yeah, that's an active reaction. As it fizzles down, give it a stir, it'll bubble back up. Keep doing this until there's no more bubbles. It took me about an hour and a half. Now I'm going to put this whole pot onto the stove, turn it on, and just keep it on low. You don't want to boil it. Ultimately, I'm just trying to evaporate off the water without it burning the salt. And once all the water has evaporated, it's turning into a paste. There's still a little water left. You need to keep evaporating this paste. And when it's finished, it's more like a rock. Now I need to break this apart. All right, once it's broken apart, I will save this. Now that I have my Na3C6H5O7, otherwise known as sodium citrate, I'm ready to make my American cheese. I don't want to use any cheese. I want to use smoked cheese. So let me show you how I smoke cheese. Smoking cheese is really easy. You just got to find a cool day to do it. I like to do it when it's at least below 60. I use a smoke generator, and this thing's pretty cool. It uses an aquarium pump to push air into the chamber for combustion, and then it allows the smoke out the other side, which I temporarily just have shoved into the intake of my offset smoker. One of these days I'm going to make a dedicated box for this thing. If you don't have a smoke generator or other way of cold smoking, there's some pretty handy tools out there. There's smoke tubes, smoke mazes, smoke snakes. You can put any of these in your Weber kettle. Another way that you can do it, which I've done in the past, is you can make a little foil boat and just put 1 or 2 charcoal briquettes, and then you put just twigs on top of that. Little tiny twigs, and just keep feeding it. Another thing you can do if you feel like you're fighting the heat from your smoke source is you can put your cheese on a wire rack on top of an ice pan. For that matter, just put an ice water pan between your smoke source and your cheese, and that should help keep your cheese cool. So I'm simply going to load up my smoker with cheese, start my pump. I'm using apple wood chips. Well, after 3.5 hours, I'm thinking this looks great. The hardest part about making your own smoked cheese is waiting, because now we need to wrap this cheese up and wait a couple of weeks. I'm going to put these in the refrigerator and leave them alone for 2 weeks. If we were to eat it now, it would be a little acrid. I'm excited about opening this up and putting it in some American cheese. Next, I'm going to dissolve 15 grams of sodium citrate into 100 grams of water. But I'm going to live large today and use some milk. Why not? I'm not going anywhere. And then I'm going to add my cheese. And it's interesting, at first it really just kind of clumps up as you try to melt it. It is a surprisingly small amount of water, but as you just keep it on the heat and we keep stirring, keep heating, keep stirring, keep whisking, 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 and eventually it becomes a very smooth sauce. Could use an immersion blender and make it even smoother. I don't find it necessary. I can get it pretty smooth with just this whisk. Now that it's smooth, I'm going to pour it into a mold. I'm going to try this bread pan today. Although I wonder if I should use one of these instead. That's what I've used before. Let's see here, can I get it out? Seemed like it kind of wanted to go this way. You can use any cheese to make American cheese. The sodium citrate will make it melt like an American cheese. I used Gruyere and Jarlsberg to make an American cheese that was amazing on mushroom onion burgers. You could use those 2 cheeses and white wine for your liquid and make a fondue American cheese. Today I used cheddar because I thought it would be the most classic and go the best on the Oklahoma onion burgers that I'm going to be making next week. I've also been playing around with making Cheese Whiz. If you got any suggestions or ideas about making your own Cheese Whiz, I'd love to hear them. Please leave it in the comments. If you've watched this video to this point, I think you liked it enough to give me a like. Consider subscribing to my channel if you want to support what I'm doing. It's free. Remember, put the love in your food. Peace. So soft, so smoky, so good.